Hello everybody, this is Petey from BurgZerg Arcade at BurgZergArcade.net, and here we are back again with another item system tutorial. I believe this is actually number 10. Let's see if I number it right. Let's go ahead and open up Unity. And we started off, we're going to start making our editor script for our objects now. So we've gone ahead, we did the one for, well, let's go ahead, we'll open up the script here. We did the one for the quality database editor, and you got your feet wet, so to speak. You got to see kind of how things work on a minimalistic scale. Now, all we really did is just make a list here. For the next one, it's going to be quite a bit more ambitious. I'm going to start off. I still like to have this bar down at the bottom for, I keep calling it a status bar, but it's not really a status bar. It's just any information I need to relay to the person using my editor. I like to stick down here. But I'm also going to have a bar at the top. And at the bar at the top, it's going to have several buttons. And these buttons are going to be basically, think of them as tabs. So you click one, you get a list of weapons. You click the other, you get a list of armor, whatever we have for our game. So different, I guess, categories, if you will. And of course, you can style these so that they actually look like tabs instead of buttons. But we'll get into that probably a little bit later when we start integrating graphics. And for all these other things that we're going to be integrating, I want to have it in a split screen view. So on the left-hand side of the screen, I want a typical list, but the only thing I really want to list maybe is the name. And on the right-hand side, whatever one you select will show up over here. So tonight, let's go ahead and get started on just the framework of the actual editor layout itself. So we'll close this down. I'm in scripts. We're going to come into editor. We already have a folder for the object editor. And this is where we're going to go ahead and make the script. Let's create a C# script. And I guess IS object editor. We don't have a database yet, do we? Yeah, we do have the database. I'm deciding if I want to, I'm not sure. We can put everything into one database as far as, the weapons, the armor, just all the objects in general, simply because they all are going to inherit from just that base object class. But I think we're actually going to go ahead and keep them all in separate databases, just in case you ever want to move. Maybe you got some really cool weapons set up in your database and you want to port them over to another game. You can just shoot that that database itself over. I don't think there's any performance issues as far as having multiple databases. So I think that's the route we're going to go. So I'm just going to call this IS object editor. So basically I'm going to create one editor now for everything. And we'll go ahead and open this up. We'll reload it. And by everything, I mean like all the items can be edited in here instead of just having separate editors for each database. I'm gonna come down here and change this. We have it as I want to switch it as, I don't know, pick anything. I'm gonna say W. And I'm gonna copy it. This is something that we're gonna be doing in all of our scripts. We need that line to go up in the menu and a way to activate it. Except now I'm gonna call it back to I, because I want my base one just to be I. It's just what I want. All right, so we gotta inherit from editor windows. So before we can inherit from editor window, we need the Unity editor. There we go. And we're going to have to switch the name here of our window type. And it's going to be a lot bigger. So I'm going to set it as 800 by 600. Window title. This is called item system. Call it what you want. It's just a string. We'll go ahead and save that off. And I like to just check to see, make sure it's working. And we're going to the quality database still. I think someone said you've come up here. I saved it, right? I didn't change the name here. There we go. Now we know which one it is. All right, let's save that off. Come up to the window. Let's see here. Whoops. So I did see it briefly. There we go. I just want to see if it is opening up the right one. Okay. Now, if you accidentally use the exact same hotkey, the behavior is it'll load the first one that it finds is the one that it opens up as far as the editors go. So just make sure you don't take the same hotkeys you see for other things up here. But anyway, this is the one I will be using. Maybe. If I can hit the right keys. All right, so item system D. Okay, I wonder if there's a way to make that tab bigger. I wonder if I dock it. Does it get bigger? Oh, let's go back in here. I don't believe so, but let's try it out. Nah. Do I want to shorten it? I definitely don't want it docked anymore. There we go. Guess I gotta just close it. But anyway. There we go. Okay, so this one is going to be pretty huge. So I know I'm going to want to break this up into a bunch of partial classes. And we touched on partial classes in the last one. This one's going to have quite a few of them, actually. So we'll go ahead and we'll set that up right away. And I'm just deciding exactly what I want in each script. I know I want my void on enable here in this script. And I want my on GUI here as well. Anything else I need here besides spaces? Oh, we can just look at the other one. Those are generally the methods I have in the base script, as I call it. So I'll wait to initiate it, which I just call init. On enable, on GUI. At the bottom bar, I will be putting in a separate script. I just want to keep everything in its own script. Keep these things really short. On GUI. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the actual, I guess, Unity functions. And that's what I like to keep in the base one. So to start with, let's go ahead and create that top bar button. So I want to create a new script for that. And I'm just going to call this top tab bar. And I've got namespaces. So while I'm here, let's go ahead and we'll take care of that too. And these are editors, so we'll put them in the editor namespace. This is going to be a partial. Well, here. Let's go this whole partial here. Alrighty. We don't need editor window. And I'm going to go ahead and create that method here for the top tab bar. And here we're just going to display a bunch of buttons. Now I'm just going to put some placeholders in there, just dummy buttons that don't actually do anything. I just want to have the visual, I guess we'll say. So to start off with, we're going to need a begin. Sorry, we got to actually tell it that we're going to be using the GUI layout dot begin horizontal. I'm going to use the style of box just to get that nice little box around it. Then for the GUI layout options, GUI layout, whoops, did I miss options? Expand width, true. Great, I'll save that off. I'm going to come up to the other script here and on GUI, I'm going to call that method. So I called it top tab bar, and I actually want to make that be capitalized. There we go. And of course, remember, if we have a begin, chances are there's an end. GUI layout dot end horizontal. And we're going to go ahead and load that up. We've been consistent lining. That's fine. We'll work on that. And here it is up here. It'll adjust once we start putting buttons in there. So let's go ahead and throw a few dummies in there. I'm trying to think, what kind of buttons do I want? We'll just use GUI layout buttons. And what do we want to call it? Let's call it, well, let's start off with weapons. Well, yeah. Do we actually start defining all the classes for the different types of items we want? This is fine. And armor and potions, I'll say. And maybe an about page. Potions. Of course, you can also have consumables, whatever it is you want to call it. And an about page. Let's see how this looks. There we go. Pretty snazzy. Now, of course, you can style it any way you want, but for me, I like it like this. You want to take note of your minimum width. You want to make sure that they're all readable. So as we add more tabs up here, we actually might have to adjust the minimum width. And that is the minimum height, right? All right. So we got that done. Next, I want to work on a list view over here. And again, I want to keep everything in its own separate script. It may seem a little excessive, but later on when you're working on it, it's just nice to have everything in its own separate script off to the side for you. And I'm just going to call it list view. And I'm just wondering if I called it that here. I did. So I'm actually going to change the name of it. I don't know if it's going to matter as far as the file name. Like that's not the name of the class. I'm just not sure if that's going to affect the file name. So I'm just going to quickly rechange it. Rechange it. All right. I'm going to quickly change the name. I'm going to call it object. Let's keep the IS object in front of everything. And I want to rename this one too. All right. Save the scene. We'll go ahead. We'll load this up. Where's the top bar? We'll just get rid of it. And we'll go ahead and load that list view up. Great. Now we can set this up. And we'll get rid of all that. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Actually, no, we're going to go ahead and make our list view here at the side. It doesn't have to be public. And let's go ahead. We'll format this. So it has to be over here. I'm just trying to decide how wide I want it to be. That might change. I'm going to come back into the original. After we call the top tab bar, this is where we want to call list view. And we'll have to put some formatting in here as well. But let's come back here. We're going to need a scroll bar. And I keep forgetting that GUI layout. Or scroll view, sorry. And instead of typing all this out, we could just copy it. Right here. And this time around, I am going to keep that scroll pos in this script. So it's a vector 2. I'm going to set it to equal a vector 2.0 to start. I believe that's the initial value it gets anyway when it starts, but just in case. And we're using the editor layout here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Just use the regular GUI layout. And I want to set the width here. And the width will be, for now, let's do, I don't know, let's try 200 pixels. Let's see how that looks. We have an error. I'm not ending it. Remember what I said, anytime you begin something, you've got to end it. End scroll view. All right, we'll come back in, load it back up. And I don't see it, so I'm going to go stick something in there. We'll just throw a label in there. And just something to make it show up. So there we go. I thought I did box style. Did I not do? Oh, it's because I switched it. I use box style a lot when I'm templating things out, just because it looks clean and it just makes things easy to see. So that's probably going to be wide enough. If not, I can adjust that later. I don't want to use the magic number right now for the width, so I am going to go ahead and turn that into a variable, but that's about right. Great. So I'm going to come back up here, and it's just an integer, so int, I'm going to say list, actually, what do we want to call it? List view width. Sounds pretty self-explanatory, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to 200 by default. There, we can get rid of this magic number over here. Great. And we'll get rid of this. Don't need the label in there. I'm going to leave a few lines in here because this is where we're going to put all the code to display whatever it is we need to display there. All right. And now I want an area over here. And I'm going to call it, I guess, item display. So we'll come in and make another C# script. And of course, we're going to keep the IS object. And I'm in the wrong area. IS object details. I've got it in the wrong script, so I'm going to go ahead and move it to the right script, or the wrong folder. So I'm going to go ahead and move it to the right folder. We'll go ahead and reload them all. Right. And of course, you know what we're going to do now, right? Fix up that namespace. There we go. And a void, and what was it? Item details. It's not, do we want to call it item or object? I'll let you decide. And of course here it's just going to be, you know, like name, value, blah, 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 whatever properties it has. Am I still pushing more than I'm popping? Ah, why did this load up when I hit Shift Control I? There we go. Shift Control I. Wonder why the other one popped up. That time I did it on purpose. I'm just wondering why I hit Shift Control I and for some reason the other one popped up. Is there some sort of caching that might be going on? Anyway, this is the one I want. So let's go ahead. We got to make an area for this to fit in, and then my bar down at the bottom, and we'll have that rough editor layout that we're looking for, at least that I'm looking for. All right, so we got that. We're going to come over here, and we have detail. Nope, sorry, it was, did I call it item? I already forget what I called it. Item details. And why is it not showing up? That's why. Oh, man. Why was I putting it? I guess I just copied off the wrong one. Let me just check them all here. Object editor. Object editor, object editor, object editor, save it, and object editor. I guess I just copied the wrong one. Well, let's see if I can find it now. Item details. It's having trouble with the list view. Let me go check that out. Not sure why. It's in the IS object editor. This call is ambiguous between the following methods or properties. So we've got, I'm going to go ahead and close it. I don't have two files in there, do I? It's already defined. Oh, you know what it was? I'm loading up the one in the iOS quality list view. And that's why. Let's keep that close. Eventually, we're going to get rid of this folder because we're going to integrate that into the new editor as well. This is iOS object. There we go. That's better. All right, so we got the item details, and we still need the bottom bar, so we're going to go ahead and add that too. Let's come over here. And I guess I should have kept that GUI label around, as I could have went ahead and used it here. And we're just going to say detail. views. Open that up. And again, when I opened up Shift Command I, let's go ahead and we'll just turn that off. I know I'm not going to need it for a little while. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and comment this out. So should get rid of up here. I assume there's some sort of caching going on. Hopefully this gets rid of it. All right, so we see that the detailed views showed up down here, and we want it up here. So we have to go ahead and basically kind of combine this, and let's actually do a box as well. So we kind of want them side by side. So let's start off, we'll do the box. And let's actually go ahead and just copy the box off the top here. It's the exact same code. I'll expand with you. So we'll go ahead, put that in. Then of course, remember, if you start it, make sure you end it. And I may end up wrapping this whole thing in a horizontal. All right, there we go. So we got the box view. We want to combine them together now. So we'll come in here to the default, and right here we'll do the begin, GUI layout dot begin horizontal. I don't think we're gonna need any properties. Then of course another GUI layout dot end horizontal. That should put them all together. There we go. And I'm going to do an expand height as well, just so it's full height. That's for this one. GUI layout dot expand height. And I'll set that to true. Quick check. There we go. Now let's go ahead and we'll put that little bar down at the bottom. And I'm still going to stick to calling it a status bar, even though it's not really a status bar. That's just what I want to call it. So we'll come in here, create one more script. IS object status bar. Could call it bottom bar. What did I call the top one? I called it top tab bar. I do want bottom in there. So we'll just call it bottom status bar. And of course, we could have just abbreviated the IS object to be ISO. But we didn't, so let's just go ahead and open this up. Maybe we'll rename it later. One of the joys of programming. Well, I guess that depends who you talk to as well. So of course, just like all the others, we're gonna go ahead and copy the namespace and the partial class part. Save that because it needed to be saved. And we'll go ahead and we'll replace all this. Save that off. And I'm going to go ahead and put the formatting in here. And again, it's going to be just like the other bar. Do I still have that? No, I don't. I just copy paste. Of course, I wouldn't have it in there anymore. So we'll just copy this. Stick it in here. Let's get rid of all this. We need a method too. Let's put a method in there. What did I call it? I called it bottom status bar. And let's go ahead and grab that label just so we can see it. Put a little space in here. Wait for it to refresh. Oh, we're not calling it in the main GUI loop. So right here. And again, it was bottom status bar. So this script here is going to be pretty clean. Just to reiterate, I want to keep all of the basic Unity functions in here. So as we find more Unity functions, like maybe we'll play around with the reset. I'm not sure yet. But those are going to be in here. And then in each one of these areas, I guess we'll call them, I'm going to try to keep the code, all the code that's required for that area, in its separate script as well. So there we go. We got our views down here as well. Our what do you call it? Status bar down there. So I'm going to end it here. We got the layout going. I'll go around and kind of like lay out the way you want it to be for you personally, because really the only thing we have left now is to start putting the code in to populate these areas. And the layout really doesn't matter. I've tried to keep it in a way that it's going to be pretty separated from the actual GUI stuff. For instance, the buttons here, we're actually going to create new methods for them. So void, let's say weapons or weapon button. Oh, let's say weapon tab. But I'm not going to fill all these out just yet because I'm not really sure exactly which ones I'm going to put up there. We start to play around quite a bit with the database and the scripts themselves before we start populating in here. But I did want to get that layout started just so you could sit down and, well, you've got time to start playing with how you want your layout. So weapon and tab. And I'm not going to bother filling the rest out. Well, I do know I am going to have an armor tab. And of course, if you're British, don't forget your U. Armor. And we know we're going to have an about tab, which is probably going to be the default that I start off with. And let's go up here. And for now, I'm just going to leave potions up there. Probably a while before I get into the potions. But you get the idea. For every tab that I want up there, I want to basically have a function for it just to keep the code for that button itself completely isolated from the GUI stuff. And of course, 3 spaces. Okay, so let me take one more look here. And, well, aside from having this labeled wrong, I'm actually going to go a little OCD and make sure everything is labeled, the area itself. So this is status, bar, the detailed view, the list view. And I guess I won't do it for the top because we've already started putting stuff in the top, but just so I know for when I come back. But anyway, that's it for this one. It actually took a little bit longer than I thought just to set this up. But as I said, go ahead, set it up the way you want, and probably going to look quite similar to mine. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.